Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Well, we're moving on up to the east side, to the deluxe apartments in the sky.
Ed Roberts with a reminder that Marion Ross will join us in our second hour. Marion Ross, Mrs. C, on Happy Days for our listeners in Southern California. Marion Ross is scheduled to appear at the annual Beverly Hills Theater Guild Luncheon, which will take place Sunday, March 17th at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. The theme of this year's luncheon will be the Hollywood Renaissance, where the highlight of the program will be a tribute to the films and television series of Gary Marshall. Proceeds from this year's luncheon will help the Beverly Hills Theater Guild fund their annual national playwriting competitions. For more information, call 310-765-1605 or go to BeverlyHillsTheaterGuild.com. In the meantime, Greg Ehrbar is with us via Skype for another look at recently released DVD or streaming titles that we think you'll find of interest. Greg, of course, two-time Grammy-nominated, multiple Addy-winning writer for television, animation, advertising, and publishing for Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal. Greg is also co-author, along with Tim Hollis, of Mousetracks, the story of Walt Disney Records. You can enjoy Greg's animation spin column twice a month, every other Tuesday at cartoonresearch.com. For more on Greg, GregEhrbar.com. What do you have for us?
We got the show where they're moving on up to the east side.
Wheezy!
They got a piece of the pie, high.
Wheezy!
With the, that name was Sherman Hemsley's idea.
Really?
And I think that, we're talking about the Jeffersons,
We're talking about
of course.
the Jeffersons with Sherman Hemsley.
Yes,
and
Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley and Isabel Sanford.
Yes. 11 seasons. Very successful series.
Very, very successful series, a staple, a show that held up its end of the bargain for CBS on several nights.
It was moved around.
I always think of it as a Sunday night show, but it was on several nights a week and did well. But I was not aware that Wheezy was Sherman Hemsley's idea.
Yeah, and I believe he was the only one who could say it. Maybe back on All in the Family, Archie might have said it once and gotten into trouble.
But that was a term of endearment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what
are the few terms of endearment that George had?
Well, George was I guess irascible.
Yeah.
Indomitable, all of those kind of lovable but annoying, but because of the actor who played him, Sherman Hemsley, like Carol O'Connor, like a lot of actors who, like Ted Danson, nothing like the person he played. He was difficult for him to get into that character sometimes, and it was difficult sometimes for him to say some of the things. He didn't like calling the character of Tom Willis the name he called him, and after a while, he didn't use that word that he called him. As a matter of fact, if you watch the show all the way through...
The one that starts with an H?
That's the one.
Yeah.
The one that gooses say.
I'd never heard it put like that before.
I'll take animal noises for $100, Alex. And what happened with Tom Willis is they had to change how he was insulted, obviously, because fat jokes became what was happening. Because if you watch the beginning, there was no mention of Tom Willis being overweight. But as the show progressed, not only was George needling him about being overweight, but suddenly Tom was ordering food constantly. There were constant jokes about what was in the fridge. He would order a pizza from nowhere. He almost became like Don Wilson on the Jack Benny show. There were just constant jokes about him uncontrollably eating.
And yet, going back to Tom and Helen Willis, the characters, one of the first, if not the first portrayals of an interracial marriage on network television.
And reportedly, no problem at all. CBS did not get phone calls like crazy or letters. People did not go nuts about it. It just worked fine. They had the African-American daughter, Berlinda Tolbert, and then they had the son.
Two sons. One Lionel played by two actors.
No,
both
Lionel was the Jeffersons' son, but then Jay Hammer played the son of the, and he had white Caucasian appearance.
Oh, you're talking about the Willis' son.
The Willis' son.
All right.
And that was a bone of contention in several episodes. No, Lionel was played by two actors.
Right.
That's true. And Lionel came from All in the Family as well.
Yeah.
There were two Lionels. The interesting thing about the Jeffersons is that unlike some series where an actor is replaced, they brought back the actors if something didn't work out, because Lionel was replaced. Mike Evans was replaced by Damon Evans because Mike Evans co-created Good Times, and he became very busy on that. Damon Evans, I'm guessing they didn't find the same kind of chemistry. I'm just guessing, because suddenly there was this character, Marcus, who was George's assistant in the dry cleaning store, and Marcus was almost like a son because he was constantly mentoring him. And Damon Evans' character as Lionel was the Lionel who got married and was a different kind of character. And he kind of gets short shrift because whenever you have to replace the actor that you're used to, sometimes you lose out. So I think I don't think he really is. He's fine, but he's not the same as Mike Evans.
Right.
However, what happened was he left the series, and then Mike Evans came back. And suddenly he's the same Lionel. And then when Paul Benedict left the series, Harry Bentley, who was the crazy English neighbor coming over to borrow weird things.
Whose back George always stepped on
yes.
whenever his back went out.
And George also would slam the door in his face in mid-sentence. They're wonderful supporting cast. He left, and then he came back later. And they tried to replace him briefly with Frank Duvall, the wonderful composer who composed My Three Sons and all these TV shows. And he played a songwriter who was on just a few episodes, and that didn't work out too well, I guess. It just didn't click. I don't know. And then Bentley came back. And then, of course, Florence, who was a key cast member of the show. Florence was so important to the show. You could do a few episodes where Florence wasn't there, but you really needed Florence because it was that triangle.
She could deflate George in ways Louise couldn't deflate George.
Yes.
But at the same time, they both did.
Yes. And George and Florence had an affection below it. That's a rare kind of dynamic, and it worked so well. And she became so popular that she got her own series.
Show, right, called Not Moving Up.
Checking In.
Checking In, which Larry Linville played the antagonist on that.
Yeah, and it was basically Frank Burns in a hotel.
Yeah.
A simpering, suck up who is sneaky. I mean, it was, the pilot is on the DVD set, and you can see how it's kind of formulaic. It's nice.
It was not the best vehicle for Marley Gibbs.
No, not really. 227 was a better show. Jack Hay kind of took command of that show.
Exactly, upstaged her. But going back to the point you made earlier, in most cases, if a supporting player leaves an ensemble cast such as the Jeffersons to do their own show, 9 times out of 10, if their own show fails, they will find themselves out of work because they would have been replaced. That wasn't the case with Marley Gibbs.
No, and that speaks of the Jeffersons staff, I would think, as well as the cast, because she came back. So that's 3 that came back to the cast. So the show was almost intact in its last season or two, and it was on 11 seasons, a very nice long run in those days. I mean, now there's shows that some of them, it was The Simpsons on 20 years or so. Now some shows can run really, really long, but back then that was a respectable run.
11 season doing 22 to 25, 26 shows a year, so carry the two. I mean, that's close to 250
It's a lot of shows.
That's a lot of shows. Greg Ehrbar is with us as we discuss the DVD release of the Jeffersons through our friends at Shout Factory. We will carry over our conversation with Greg into our second hour. Then we will welcome back our friend Marion Ross. Marion Ross, Mrs. C, on Happy Days. All that more coming up in hour number 2 of TV Confidential. Stay with us. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying our podcast. If you're listening to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TV Confidential, be sure to hit the subscribe button.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Michelle Nichols, Adrienne Barbeau,
Leonard Maltin,
Joyce Bulifant,
Peter Onorati,
Judy Norton,
Ken Berry,
Rhonda Shear, Michelle Lee, Jacqueline Smith,
Lou Antonio,
Shirley Jones,
And many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential. Every week on this station and every day online at televisionconfidential.com.
If you've listened to TV Confidential and like what you've heard, please consider supporting our efforts by becoming a patron of our show through Patreon. How does Patreon work? Patrons agree to make a small donation to their favorite content creators every time they release new content. In exchange, we continue to provide new content while offering you rewards in return. In a way, it's like giving a tip. Plus, it provides value for value. So if you liked this week's guest or learned something about your favorite show that you did not know before, please consider supporting our efforts for as little as $1 a month. If you can afford more than $1 a month, you can donate at that level as well and receive some cool rewards. For just $5 a month, for example, you can download up to 6 programs from the TV Confidential archive store absolutely free. For $10 a month, you will receive a sneak preview of our guest interview every week before anyone else hears it. For more information, go to patreon.com/TV Confidential or click the Patreon button on the homepage at tvconfidential.net.
Accredited by Guinness World Records, welcome to Archival Television Audio Incorporated, a peerless TV soundtrack archive, preserving the audio from television's first 3 decades, the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the golden and silver age of television.
For more information, go to atvaudio.com.
Uber is the mobile app that connects you with a driver for immediate transportation. Request a ride at the tap of a button and you have a driver curbside in minutes. You can choose to be driven in a black car, SUV, or you can choose UberX, the low-cost Uber for a ride in a hybrid or mid-range car. Payment is seamless and cashless. Billed to your card on file with no need to tip. Enter the promo code TV Confidential after you download the app to receive a free first ride up to $20. For more information, go to get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty Group, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.